Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone and welcome to our first Science Curio webinar series of this year. My name is Samrat Kumar. I'm the country coordinator of Euraxis India, and together with the French Embassy and CNRS, we are going to bring you a very exciting and truly fashionable session today. Today, we will talk about the role of artificial intelligence in the fashion and design industry, which has been a very trendy topic and very cross-cutting topic these days. And we are very excited that we can dedicate today, this afternoon, to a session which has many implications also for our day-to-day lives. Fashion and design have shifted their access from physical stores to social media-friendly spaces. And there are several applications of artificial intelligence which help in the molding of the design industry in the future, but which also leads to several open-ended questions. And we have invited today distinguished speakers from France and India to address some of these important and intriguing questions. Let me now welcome them and briefly introduce them to you. I start with Dr. Tawhid Chitoui. He's the president and dean at Ivan City School for Technology, Business and Society in Paris, Cachan. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Tawhid.
Hello, everyone.
Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Jignesh Kakar. He's the dean at the NID Gandhinagar campus. A very good afternoon and warm welcome to you, Dr. Jignesh.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Next, it's an immense pleasure to welcome Ms. Hema Malini Padmanabhan. She's the Director for Business Development and Customer Success at Stylomia. A warm welcome to you as well, Hema.
Thank you. Thanks, Samrat.
And last but not least, a very warm welcome to Ms. Lila Perrault. She's working at Mossi as a project development manager, joining us from France. Very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, and hello to everyone.
So, well, no panel discussion is possible without an excellent moderator. But don't worry, it's not going to be me today. Rather, I have the great pleasure to invite two of my dear colleagues, Ms. Ambika Anil Kumar and Dr. Srini Kaveri, who will be in charge of moderating the session today. Ambika is the Deputy Attaché for University and Scientific Cooperation at the French Embassy. Warm welcome to you, Ambika.
Thanks, Samrat. Happy to be here.
And of course, I don't need to make an introduction for Dr. Srini Kaveri. Everyone knows him, the director of the CNRS office in India at the French Embassy. Srini, it's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Namaskar. Thank you very much, Samrat. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
So yeah, thank you so much. So I'll just mute my mic immediately and hand over to Ambika and Srini. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Samrat. I'll let Srini tell his story as usual. He starts everything with very interesting stories. So over to you, Srini.
We will see whether it is interesting or not later on, but let me start with the story, okay? The moment you think of CNRS, Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique, you would think, oh my God, it is hardcore science. Obviously it is, and it is one of the most prestigious research organizations in the world with 33,000 scientific staff working in 1,100 units in France, plus our representations and associated collaborative laboratories practically all over the world. And we don't do only the basic science, but in a few minutes I'll talk about the way we transfer the basic science over to applied industrial applications, etc. But before that, I would also like to say that CNRS is prestigious, as I said earlier, because we have at least 22 Nobel laureates amongst us and 12 Fields medals. So that makes it a scientific powerhouse. But what a scientist, a basic scientist, is doing in fashion today, or you may be wondering, and the link I'll tell you in few seconds. But before that, I have a small story. See, I'm a veterinarian. I did my veterinary school in India and then went to Pasteur Institute for a PhD for 5 years, and then I go to Southern California, high five, fast publishing very well and all. But for reasons, very interesting reasons actually, I come back to France. And then I come back from Southern California, a lot of pushy ideas and this and that. And so we started working, and then one beautiful set of data, we started working on the immune system. I will not bore you with a lot of immunology. We collected a huge amount of data, and if it were today, it would have been called big data. But those days, we collected beautiful data on children, young adults, pregnant women, elderly individuals. We saw the behavior of the immune system in health and disease. And so here I am with my students and then the chairman of the department. I display these results. I say, okay, we have these results which are extremely interesting from children, etc., etc. And this will be my first figure. And let me go to the second figure. You know, I'm a scientist mode, publishing fast, publishing quick. And then the professor, the chairman of the department, Michel Kazachkin, says, hey, wait, why are you in such a hurry? It's such a beautiful piece of data. It was spread all over the table. Beautiful piece of data. Let's appreciate that. It's like an artistic piece. Oh my God, I thought, I come from Southern California. I just wanted to publish as quickly as possible. That was the way I was looking at. But a scientist with a very artistic approach, meaning even in science, you can see arts. That's the way, I mean, at least that's what he made me understand. Anyway, I'll cut the story short to tell you the philosophy of how in France, art and artistic view is practically seeped all over. So in CNRS, although we are doing basic research, we work with major industries like Thales, Total, Schneider Electric, and L'Oreal, for example, even in India. So there is a strong link between basic research and industrial application and its usefulness for addressing the societal challenges. Now, over the last few years, we have been hearing so much, there is so much development on artificial intelligence. And thanks to Samrat Kumar and Euraxis, last year, I organized, along with some of my colleagues, 4 experts, just like today, on artificial intelligence and health. And mind you, there's a beautiful data coming up and lots of extremely interesting and important applications of artificial intelligence in health, particularly in India, where now although internet is spread out everywhere, hospitals are not there everywhere, in nooks and corners, in the villages, in the remote rural areas, and how artificial intelligence has allowed these people living in remote places to access health thanks to artificial intelligence. And that's the beauty of one of them. But today we are shifting the gear, and with Ambika we are going to discuss, and we are going to have very constructive and interesting discussion with 4 experts on artificial intelligence and fashion. And so before I start asking questions, I'll probably have Ambika say a few words about that, and then we'll start talking to 4 experts. Ambika, is that okay?
Perfect. And thank you for setting the stage so perfectly, Srini, because I think it's important at this point to really realize how well close-knit is the fashion world, the design world, and the technology world. And that is why we have, this diverse people present as our panelists today here. And so when you're talking about data, the pattern recognition and data analytics, the first name which comes to my mind right now is of Hema's from Stylumia. So Hema, can you just, because I don't know whether all the audience is aware of what Stylumia is doing in this space, in this interface of fashion and AI. And can you just quickly say what you do?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Ambika. So at Stylumia, if I have to, before even I talk about what is it that we do, I'd probably take a minute to say why we went on this road, right? Why did we even build a company to combine AI and give fashion insights, which nobody was actually treading upon when we started this. The whole idea being fashion today is all about the consumer, right? And I'm sure most of us would agree to this. Every bit we create is for somebody to appreciate. Now, if we create a lot that nobody appreciates, then we are actually designing for the junkyards and the dump fields, right? Now, no designer wants to be in that position. And that is the problem we want to solve, that let's create things that people will love and appreciate. What we do at Stylumia is we collect data at internet scale, and we enable you to understand by region, what are people actually liking. So if you want to understand what are the dress trends in India, is it super ethnic wear, or something what the motifs are very ethnic, or is it micro florals that are doing well in India? You can understand that. Not just India, you can sit here and design for South Korean market by looking at the data. So that's one part of thing. And the second part of what we do is we also collect data from customers. Now, large enterprises who've been around for decades, we can take their data and also understand how much should they make for their next season. So if there is a top that is going to come out from one of our customers, let's say 6 months from now or 7 months from now, we use data to tell them this can only sell 1,000 pieces. Don't make more. Right. So we kind of balance the what to make for a region and how much to make. And that's what we do.
Great, and thank you for sharing what you do. And that brings to my next question for you again, to just set the stage right, to Hema. So I know that you have been looking at data patterns and doing a lot of data analytics for quite some time, but now we have a new era. Like we say, AD and BC, we have pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, right? And so there has been a lot of difference in the consumer behavior, in your approach towards the consumer in
Right.
dealing with data. So do you think this has led to a lot of expansion in your field?
Absolutely. I think, with post-pandemic, one is everybody wants to regain the market share now, because now is when the purses are opening and people are looking to spend. A couple of big changes is how deep are we going using AI in personalization. If acquiring new customers is another big trend that's happening. If I were earlier working out of a multi-brand retailer and I have set up my own website now, how do I acquire a loyal customer base? And that's not just one-sided, right? That loyalty is always two-sided. It's two sides of the same coin. So what do I give back to the customer from what I've learned about them? And all of these trends are picking up really, really post-pandemic. And second is, post-pandemic has also opened up a lot of sub-crisis. For instance, the shortage in fabric. There's a small transport crisis that occurred post-pandemic, where we weren't able to get raw material across very fast. Now, what does it matter for customer is, will that impact the retail price at which they buy products? Now, that's a second or third subset that we are also observing post-pandemic, trying to maintain the prices, but struggling with the supply chain issues.
Okay. Thanks for highlighting upon these points, because I think it's very important to put things in perspective and then see where this field is going. Which I think gives me some questions for Leela, because who is coming from a very different consumer market, I would say. Because Hema, I think you are mostly dealing with mass production that way compared to the designer wear. So I just wanted to know from Leela, how do you? One thing is there any difference post-pandemic and pre-pandemic in terms of your clientele? And also, I would want to know whether you have been trying to use any kind of AI or technology in sort of doing your marketing, because it is only for a niche clientele, as you might agree.
Yes, thank you, Ambika. So as Emma was saying, like, it's very interesting, like, to use AI and to use data for like knowing what the consumer wants and everything. But for the kind of market I'm working in, with mostly with like a designer, working like a new designer, so working with a small range of clients. For us, it's more about creativity. And using AI with data could like be useful, knowing what people like, but it can be like a problem with like all the stylists and all the creative process that is at the heart of our business. So that is one point. I mean, we are using, like, of course, digital and technologies, because it is helping to be known, especially worldwide. And for the production, we are using like new fabrics. We were talking about, like, when we were in Bangalore, the milk fiber that we are doing clothes out of milk. which is like a sustainable process. And so when we can put technology, every kind of technology, to help reduce the waste or to help building like a sustainable product, of course we are in. But for now, we are more into like a small process, like creating the clothes and presenting it into the fashion week. And then we have like small clients, so we are producing and selling what we're asked for. So we are not facing that kind of troubles. And about like the post-pandemic and pre-pandemic, we can say that COVID in our business has put like a digital in front of the business, the fashion scenes, even like for fashion weeks. It was very, very useful to have digital show. They did like for the first year in March 2022, the Metaverse Fashion Week, helping like to put creativity, but as well, like according to me, we have to be careful in order not to let the tradition alive at the same times. But it has helped all the small designer to still being alive. We have faced problem with like all the production, that many factories have been closed, and so the challenge was like to try to find new way to produce. But otherwise, we can say that after COVID, people are even more enthusiastic of being back to the fashion scene, and being back to being in stores, meeting the designer, meeting the stories behind their clothes, and so everything is kind of back to normal. And I have to say that even if digital has been taking a huge place, people tend in Paris, I mean, talking just about the fashion scene in Paris, then tend to love to be back to seeing each other, and to be attending like real events. That's fashion is not all about like selling clothes, but it's about the story behind it, and meeting people and building a strong bridge between the clients and the designer. So that's what I think.
Good. Thank you very much. Ambika, you want to have one more question to her, or I connect now the other two people to the audience?
Yeah.
The other two people are equally interesting because they connect the academic world, the institutional or the university world, over to the real fashion world. It was beautiful to listen to these two perspectives of the real fashion and its use by the common people. But now let's go back to Jignesh and then Tafi a little later. But Jignesh, tell us, I mean, I have been absolutely fascinated by your institution and the way you look at science, technology, artificial intelligence, and its link to design. And I don't want to be selfish because I learned a lot from your discussions previously, but now I want these other people who are listening to us in the Science Curio session also learn from you a little bit. Tell us what you do and how you got this idea, from where you started this. Please, Jignesh.
Thank you, Shri. So the NID is, India's say foremost school in design, and it has 19 different programs in design at the postgraduate level, which is one of the highest in the world. So slowly over the years, we have seen, as a design school, designers obviously are interested in application of technology and in how technology might impact creativity, how it might impact culture, how it will impact the future, and so on. And over the years, what I've noticed is there's growing interest among students to apply ideas of AI to their designs. In the program that I run, which is New Media Design, this is slightly more, I would say, a deeper engagement with technology. It's a program that engages with the design of technology. And so AI and machine learning is something that's kind of inevitable. The challenges from an educational point of view are manifold as far as AI is concerned. One is that if you look at the most recent surveys, then globally, AI education, research, and practice are dominated by a handful of countries, mostly the US, China, UK, Europe, India, and within those countries, the handful of universities and the global tech companies. And this is something that this asymmetrical pattern of distribution or of power is something that is something to worry about, because the other issue in AI education and research and practice is to do with kind of equity and representation. So representation of diversity of ideas is something that would benefit the discipline a lot. Not just technologists, but also designers, artists, craftsmen, and most importantly, I think people who are going to be impacted by AI. So the common public at large, which means that we also need education, formats of education or curricula or syllabus that accounts for all stakeholders, which is quite difficult to do. One of the interesting challenges in AI I find is to do with the invisibility of the technology, in the sense that the algorithms are much of the stuff is behind the scenes. So if you ask most people if they've ever experienced it, the answer will be very vague, or in most cases no. So kind of teaching people the nuts and bolts of AI is something that is I find very important to do, even if it is to the common public. And that's something that we have to, and that's anyway you have to do that in a design school. And I think what we need to do as far as education is concerned is to make sure that people have a very good conceptual understanding of technology, and that can help them kind of apply it. One of the most critical challenges I find is to do with ethics, and how do we deal with that, because people who design algorithms, for example, have incredible power and resources at their disposal. And often the consequences of these algorithms or the technology is seen after a long period of time, once it's already reached the world at scale. And so these are some of the things that I've been grappling with for some time.
Excellent. And before I go on to Tawhid, I would like to just very down to earth question: how do the student community today? How is it looking, and what is are they showing interest in AI and design as much as in AI and other? Because AI has spread, as you know very well. It is practically in all domains of science, or all domains of life, if I may say. But how is the student community, just let's say the kids who are coming out of school, how are they looking? And if you say you are proposing AI and design, how are they perceiving it? I mean, is there a lot of interest among these people, or it's still budding science?
No, there is interest. I think from the evidence I've seen on the ground in my discussions with children and with students is that a lot of it is happening through the devices and software that they use. For example, they're getting an understanding and glimpse of AI through translation softwares that kind of translates stuff in real time, which is something that was not possible a few years ago. But you can now try your hands at that. There are now softwares that I know my students are using that auto-generate text, and that's also very interesting, because it's already, I mean, the tech is not very new, but it can be used in very interesting and undesirable ways as well in an educational setting. You can get entire reports and essays generated. So how do you deal with that? Students, for example, in my program have been exploring computer vision and AI and machine learning for long. Just today morning, I was talking to a student and describing how a few years ago, a student proposed a conceptual project for blind people or visually impaired people, where they could take photographs using computer vision, using basic capabilities like scene detection or scene object detection and object recognition. And as they pan the camera, I would describe this scene to them orally, and that would help them compose the scene and take pictures. So there is, I think, as long as they have a conceptual understanding of what's going on, they are able to apply it well, and creatively. I think that's already starting to happen.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you, Jignesh. Go for it.
Yes.
Ambika.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, it should actually automatically leads this question to Tawheed, because we have been discussing about bringing a totally new generation to learn AI and the practices very differently. And of course, ethics is a big part of it, because it totally depends on what they experience in Tawheed's language, not learn. That would lead to a better tomorrow, a better future in this interface. So I want to know from Tawheed, who is actually constructed this whole university comprising of the business, technology, and ethics units together. How do you train your students, and what kind of encounters do you have when you have to deal with ethics and AI and society and aspects like this? Because if I understand right, we cannot teach ethics to a student. So how do you do that?
For sure, when we think about AI, this big revolution, we generally have a focus on the fact that AI is a new jobs and a new technology. But for us, it's first of all a new practice and a societal issue. AI is not only a question of technology and jobs for experts who are able tomorrow to develop new technology. For sure, it's the case. That means we need actually more and more experts and practitioners of AI, machine learning, data science, data engineering, data management, data governance, etc. But the real challenge of our societies is how to introduce the practice of AI in all the industries, because it's like this that we will be able to transform our industries, to have a better performance, to have a better competitivity, because this is the question really, how all our companies will be able to accelerate, to improve their operations using this technology. And not only with experts on AI that we will do that. We need that all the managers, all the functions, all the jobs, all the industries will be able to understand this technology. And it's complex. AI, the ecosystem of AI is very complex. That means this is what have the big difference between AI actually and internet or electricity, the past revolutions that we have. AI is much more complex because we are dealing with data and the quality of the data. We have cloud computing, transfer of data, hardwares, interfaces, algorithms, applications. So there is a lot of complexity in this technology, which is very new, and this black box of AI, which makes the acceptability of AI very low. Second question, it's a question of technology for sure, but we know that the AI of tomorrow will be low code or no code, and we will not be able to create and recreate the AI, but how to put it into practice and how to consider the societal implications. This is the main and the most important challenge that we will have in the future. And innovation is not sustainable if it is not in link with societal issues. If we don't consider the impact on humanity, if we don't consider the impact on the society, and this is which will make this big revolution sustainable. And that's why we need not also to give the capacity to create this technology and to implement it in our industries, but we need to give a very big impact on our future conceptors of this technology. And so they are aware of all the human and societal implications. And it is not so easy. And because you said that means teaching ethics of AI, it's not so easy. It's not by putting students in classrooms with ethical courses that we will make them responsible. It will be so easy like this, and we will be all very responsible. The real challenge that we have, and which is complicated, is to nourish their spirit with this ethics aspect, not only teach and giving them definitions and concepts of ethics, how to nourish their spirit. That tomorrow when they will create the technology, they will be very aware and sensitive to these questions, because there is a lot of problems behind AI. There is biases, robustness, securities, etc., etc. So there is a lot of issues which will make that this technology will be positive for the society and humanity or not. And if we assure our role as an higher education institutions by nourishing the spirits by these issues related to ethics, it's only like this that we will have less risk tomorrow that this technology will be used in another way and in the wrong way. So we try at Ivancity not only to position the ethics as the transverse, because it's not separately that we will create this integration between ethics and technology, because it needs to be integrated. If we create just bricks from one side ethics, from the other side technology. It doesn't work. I have the ingredients, but I don't have the receipt. And we need the receipt. We need to know how to integrate, how to put ethics by design from the beginning of the creation of the technology, not at the end. I create the technology, and by the end, I will try to say, okay, what will be the ethical implication? It doesn't work like this. It's too late. It's from the beginning that we need to consider all the ethical dimensions. So we try to put all the ethical part of our programs integrated within the different technological programs. So it's not related or independent courses. It's each time we will speak about algorithm, about technology, about data, we will speak within the same course, the same lecture with professors, what are the ethical dimension of all these technology. And also within the project, we have a big part in all the projects, which represent like 30% of our programs, this real project that students work on. We have very big part of the evaluation related to the how students consider the ethical dimension when we will design the technology, when we propose or interact with companies. And we also, for example, have as a condition of one of the conditions to obtain the degree is to have our students needs to have in addition to all the internships, etc., a mission of 6 months within an NGO in human mission. That's mean poverty or diversity, etc., because we think that it's like this that we will much more impact them and make them more sensitive to the humanities issues. So we try to have a lot of different things in order to make this, even if we are a school of AI and we have robots everywhere, etc., put humanity as the final issue, because it's like this that we will create a sustainable and an AI of trust and responsibility.
Wow, Tawhid, that was absolutely fantastic, because moral lessons are not learned only in the classroom, as you said. Okay, today between 4 and 5 p.m. we will learn the moral lessons and that's it. No, that doesn't work. I like the way you look at the ethics, how it interferes with every aspect right from the beginning. Now let me go back to a very fundamental, very down to earth questions to all of you, but more in particular to the university people. I mean, two of them, Jignesh and Tawhid. See, when we discussed about ethics, being important, and then how it is taught right from the beginning. But tell us, once again, I'm sitting in the position of a student who is looking at you two people now. What can I learn, and where can I, how do I approach you two people? But tell one or two words, if it's possible. You already touched upon that, about interdisciplinarity. Because who are the students who would be coming, and what are the different disciplines that they would be equipped with or should be equipped with to start off with, either in Tawhid school or in Jignesh's design school. Jignesh, you want to start with a little bit of interdisciplinarity, how you look at it?
So personally, I think that it is good not to think about the disciplines as strict silos.
Yes.
So whether it's interdisciplinary, cross-disciplinary, multidisciplinary, or even anti-disciplinary, the problem with all of those is that you get stuck in these vertical silos. One of the core requirements of education today and in the future, I believe, will be that we have to be able to navigate freely between the disciplines. Exactly. So, for example, if you have a student who is interested in healthcare, and their concept requires something like machine learning or AI, then they have no option except to collaborate with people in those fields and to learn the knowledge and skills that are required. And the same applies if a student, for example, a fashion student or an apparel or textile design student is interested in smart textiles, then they may have to work with a material scientist. They may have to work with craftspersons. They may have to even work with people at the leading edge of material science to create new kinds of materials, for example, the kind of stuff that Mossy is doing, for example. So I think it is best for students to embrace the disciplines and to not be stuck in their own kind of silos. That would be my take on it.
Yeah, it was really a question from the beginning for us because we wanted to create a school for artificial intelligence and of something.
I think there is he frozen?
There is a technical issue
Okay,
with
no
Tawhid.
problem. So I think we will wait for Tawhid to connect back and give his views on this point. Meanwhile, I'll shoot a question to Hema and then to Leela. So coming from the corporate sector, Hema, we've been speaking about ethics and training a whole new generation about ethics, right? So I want to know in the real world, in the corporate sector where we actually face these applications in reality, how much of these ethics would you take it into account? How I know that Stylomia does a lot of things for which is humane, I would say. So how do you rate these ethics, and also about involving students? So like Tawhid rightly pointed out, you cannot like put them in a class and then give moral science lessons to them. So do you sort of try to explain this to students by giving them internships in your companies and doing things like that?
Absolutely. So it always starts there, right? Because while you have a generation which is already catering to customers globally, it is, if you want to bring a true change, it's always when you start with the next generation.
I can see somebody very
Yeah.
much involved in the discussion. Somebody wants to raise a
Yes.
voice in the background. So, did you
Sorry,
finish,
I didn't
Emma?
anticipate that. No. It's not it's just my two dogs. So I was saying that it always starts with the generation that's going to, going back to the corporate and going to start their careers. That's where you bring the influence the highest. So when we take interns, or even when we train new set of trainees at our customers, we always try to inculcate the why, because AI is just a means to get a job done. It is not, you don't adopt AI because you like AI. You adopt it because it will help you get something done. And I think I spoke about this earlier as well. Let's say customers who have worked with us, when we conducted a small survey, we were able to understand that we were 50 million garments which otherwise would not have sold, we stopped them from getting produced. Now that's huge at scale, that's huge savings for everybody. Now this was not done by AI. While AI gave recommendation, it's the, the next generation of designers and buyers who took the insights and who acted upon them. And they did it consciously because they just don't want, of course they want to make money, that's what corporate is all about, but also with a conscience, right? They did not want to make money in the same way where, 1 out of 3 garments sell and we break our heads about what to do with the other 70% that's left and that's not moving, right? So you create an impact not just by looking at sustainability through one lens. I really liked how Tai was talking about, you take one, you can't make anything and then look at, okay, what do I do now, how do I make it sustainable now? It has to start at the beginning. I just written something to one of the questions that had come. If something will not sell, don't make it. That's the first step you need to be. That's the most ethical thing you can do. Right? If you are in a corporate and if you're responsible for millions of dollars and millions of trees, stop making things that won't sell. Right? And stop it at the beginning. I think that's what is my take on it.
Thanks, Emma. Very good take. And that sort of brings everybody on the same page. Tawhid, we'll just come back to you. I know that you lost the connection, but just not to break the flow, I just wanted to go to Leela quickly about this point of student training. Of course, the ethics part, you are welcome to answer, but most interestingly, I just wanted you to highlight, when I know that you have internship at Les Ateliers Ali, which you manage the school. So I don't know whether you send the students internships only in the background of textile or embroidery and things like that, or do you sort of give them an exposure to the technological areas by making the internship a little bit diverse and making them understand the real life practices?
Yes, thank you. So yes, Mossy is a brand, but he has already also created like a school, Les Ateliers Alix, which aim is to preserve like the haute technique couture, French haute technique couture. So it is important for us that our students evolve following a traditional apprenticeship of haute couture technique by hand, and then leaving our school with an important technical background. However, as you said, Ambika, we encourage them to diversify their skills and not to disconnect from the evolutions that accompany and shape the world of fashion. Because as said, Emma, the future is like to know why you're doing something, and then to reduce waste, and then to be more sustainable. And as the fashion industry is one of the more polluting, to trying to find solution in order for it to be sustainable for everyone. But still, they do like internship our students every year during the 3 year of their training. But it is still into fashion brands. But most of the time, we try to encourage them to go to fashion brand or to creator using new technologies. Actually, it's happening a lot in haute couture, like the marriage, if you can say, between the tradition and then the new technology, but mainly in the fabrics, but still using some, I'm not good with technology, so I'm learning a lot with you guys actually today. But through like computer, they are doing like amazing fabrics, which are like made from some fiber. How to explain it in English, it's another challenge for me, but if you guys want to check, like there is a designer, a Japanese one, called Nuima Nakazato, and he's into the Paris Fashion Week's haute couture. And actually, our students have already been doing internship with him, and so learning how to put the technology to the fabrics and into the process of creating new clothes. And we have many and creator, actually designer, taking our students into that kind of internship. And so for us, it's very important for them not to be disconnected. Even if in our school we do not have a course or classes teaching them the AI and technology, we just want them like to be aware that it does exist, and that's something they will have to deal with once they will be like in the professional world. So yeah, that's it.
Thanks for clarifying. I think Srini, we can come back to Tawheed, what Tawheed left us on hold.
Yes, Tawhid, please.
I'm sorry, I have a problem of connection. So no, I just say that in order to avoid to be in disciplinary approach, the idea was to focus on the recruitment, on the job market needs. So that's why in the beginning of designing our programs, our first step was to conduct a study of recruitments. We like have interviews with more than 200 recruiters around the world who are focusing on AI experts. And the idea was to design program not around a list of courses and credits and hours and teaching hours, etc., and classrooms, but around skill blocks. We created all our programs around 6 to 7 skill blocks. A skill objective or learning objective, we have something which is more interdisciplinary. And that's how we try to create this hybridization of disciplines. It's a lot of work, interaction of our different professors coming from different disciplines. But it was the idea to cut with this logic of programs, which is organized by module, which is very disciplinary, and by integration of different skills. I give you just a concrete example of a learning objective or a skill that we are looking for, and you will see how it is interdisciplinary. For example, analyze data by identifying anomalies and gaps in order to evaluate their quality and their potential for exploitation, and implement the necessary correction and improvements to answer decision-making needs. This is one of the main objectives that we have in the data aspects. So we see here that we need the capacity to analyze data, which is all about data analytics and about more technical skills, but also this capacity to identify biases, anomalies, and to see the gaps in order to improve the quality of data, because what is very important in data is not the quantity, but also the quality and the fact that it is smart and good and not only big. with all the implications that we have on environmental side, and then how you will be able to use these data and to implement the corrections in order to answer the business need. So here we have business, ethics, algorithm, techniques, and so we are much more oriented to this way of thinking the components of our programs are organized like this, which make from the beginning our approach very, very integrated.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think Srini, that sort of sums up a lot of things, because when he talks about these different components which are very versatile, which requires very different level of training and backgrounds, but at the same time you need all of this hand in hand for us to produce generations of good practices and good technology and innovation. So as a CNRS head in India, I actually wanted to ask you, because all these things requires money to even have skill development program and to have projects put together. But we are coming from a very different setup, which was, maybe if you ask 15 years back, we were very isolated in our own world, I think, the scientists. I'm saying we because I'm also a researcher like Srini. So we never thought that we would club, fashion and design and technology and everything under one school. So I wanted to know, what is CNRS, which is one of the major funding research bodies of France, think about such a transdisciplinary approach? Would you fund it?
Well, let's take the question one by one. I mean, it's very direct. Would you find it? Yes, I do. No, I'm kidding. So, see, Jignesh pointed out very smartly. He at one point said, we cannot work in silos and we have to collaborate. And the same thing was, Tawhid gave example of how different domains, they cross-talk to each other, and therefore it's important to collaborate. So I'll give you, before I say yes, we have several mechanisms for all of you, I mean, not just the panelists, but all the people who are sitting out there and listening to us, how to connect with or between the industrial and academic world. There are many mechanisms that we propose. But before that, I just would like to take one example. This tells the importance of collaboration. Some of you who attended the conference organized by Ambika and AI on Fashion in Bangalore, the presidential conference, there was one person whose name was Hemant Sagar. Hemant Sagar has a beautiful project, absolutely fascinating project. He works on fabrics made out of rami. May know about it. It's like silk, cotton, etc. Rami, Rami. You will find out, Tawhid, if you wish to know more about it. But the reason I'm mentioning is Hemant on one side, I don't know how to tag him. Is he a fashion designer? He's a creator. He's many things. At the same time, when we discussed together, when Hemant sat with me to discuss the very basic fundamental cell biology of this fabric, of this plant, the plant cells, the cell membrane behavior, the biophysics of that I was mesmerized. I mean, I was really amazed at the amount of interest that he shows. Not on one end of the spectrum, he has this very fashion design, he does that, and at the other end of the spectrum, he goes to the in-depth science behind that, the technology behind that. And that brings me to what CNRS, or well, for that matter, what Indo-French collaborations, because I would like to ask you people, but then we will probably, because of the time, we may take these questions later on, how you people, all of you, see the Indo-French relations. Because in one way or the other, today, if we are meeting together with Ambika and myself representing the French system, and two people representing French organizations, Leela and Tawhid, different way, then there are Indians, of course, with Hema and Jignesh. There is this Indo-French mixture here. There is this something nice thing happening. But what CNRS proposes is that when you have an interesting idea, just like Hemant, who was interested in understanding more about the cellular aspects, the molecular aspects, then he connected with scientists in Lille, in CNRS actually, and then we are now building a project on addressing some of the properties of this fabric, or the cell membrane properties, and to see how we can understand more about this. Similarly, for all of you, if you have interesting questions, please approach us, and we will find ways of constructing a project either with the industry or with the academicians that we have. I told you CNRS consists of 33,000 scientific staff plus all the scientific the intelligentsia in India. We can create things, and we have means of collaborations. There are structured cooperative mechanisms and tools. Plus we should not forget CEFIPRA. CEFIPRA stands for Indo-French Center for Promotion of Advanced Research. Let's make it either in English Indo-French Center or in French CEFIPRA. Please note it down, CEFIPRA. This allows you to think of research projects, collaborative research projects, industry academia research projects, workshops, and many other such opportunities. I'll not go into the details today, but if you have any questions related to how you can connect with the between the two worlds and how you can raise some fundings, please contact us. I'll stop here, but then I think, Ambika, we should take some questions because of one or two questions which are very interesting out there from the audience. Why don't we take them, please?
Sure. So do you want to club the questions and I'll take them, Srini? Or do you want me to start?
Or you can go ahead. You can go ahead because
Okay.
you should go back to Bhavna's question. Hema already answered to some extent, but
Yeah.
let others also benefit from that very quickly, if you don't mind.
Right. No, so Hema, there is a question I think specifically for you. I don't know whether you replied to it, but it is on the Q&A box. So basically the person is asking, how are you catering to the needs of the Indian people who are very price sensitive? So the main reason is to know that in this tech savvy era, customers are more fascinated to new trends and they follow actors. So just want to know how luring the customers more towards you than your competitors.
Sure. I think a very pointed question, but I'll try to do justice. I think one is to understand, our first, if I were you, I'll try to understand, are Indian customers price sensitive or are they value for money? Right? Do they, there are two very different things, right? And if you're a retailer or brand, I would say first figure out this answer to this. And let's say, in my opinion, it's more value for money than price sensitive in general. If it's value for money, then what is the value that you can provide? Now, if there is fabric price that's kind of recurted up and you don't have, even basic wear is going to increase in price, then what can you add so that it becomes more value for money? Do you want to add embroidery to it? Do you want to add a print to it to make it look more value? I think that is the traction you should take. And here, not necessarily AI, but kind of watching the market would really, really help. If you can answer a question like, embroidered kurtas, what in cotton, what are the prices that usually that they can sell the best at? Right, and then see if your pricing is at par with it, higher than it, lower than it. I think that's the way to go about it.
Okay, so there is another question. Oh, sorry, my mic is okay. Yeah, there is another question about it's I think it's related to the post-pandemic era, that how did it make this field more complex and competitive for the producers to sell their products in this new normal trend? So I think maybe it's also for Hema as well.
So this is towards the end, right? The question's towards the end.
Yeah.
I think there's a beautiful buzzword right now called D2C, where there are so many companies enabling enabling a lot of variety of brands to go direct to consumer. And I think that is one of the biggest trend burst, I would say, post-pandemic, which is hitting consumers directly and trying to win in the D2C world. And coming, I think the other question is kind of related to this. Yeah, I think if someone is, I have to read it a bit more. I'll then finish the first question itself.
Yeah.
So it's when you have D2C, when you have the power of D2C, it means that you own the data of your customer, right? It's not just about selling directly to somebody. It means you own every bit of data. You're not dependent on anybody to understand who loves your brand anymore, right? And you can make things nimble and flexible at your end. So that is the power of D2C. I think in a competitive world, exploiting this trend is not at all a bad stance to take.
Okay, thank you. And so, because there's a lot of questions for Hema, I think a lot of people who are in the corporate world is like definitely interested in asking so many questions. Just to make sure that we sort of go uniform on this, any one of you can answer this question. It's about how technology can be involved much more in the fashion industry, and sort of which helps the fashion industry to survive better. So that is one of the questions. And so any one of you can give your perspectives.
You should name the person, otherwise they would be waiting for you to name, I guess.
Tawhid, do you want to say something about it? Since you deal with AI in different sectors.
Yeah, we could have a lot of applications in order to help fashion design, development of fashion design. We have all the aspects related to data. For instance, first, how to use the data, because we know that fashion design, there is a specific relationship with customers, and the new paradigm of fashion design industry is not about how to capture and to get new customers, but how to keep this relationship with customers, how to improve it, and how to move from massification to individualization. And this needs a lot of data and its algorithm in order to personalize the relationship, because we need in fashion design and in luxury design in general, also we need to have this customization and personalization of the relationship with customers. So we have a huge amount of data today coming from different reports and different ways related to internet, particularly to the all the data coming from different supports. And so how to use these data to have a better understanding of the need and to have a much more personalized relationship with customers. We could use it also for supply chain. We know that we need, and we have an issue related to supply chain today, and especially when we speak about the environmental issues. So how could optimize the supply chain operations within the fashion and design industry. We have also an issue related to chatbots, which is specific use of AI today, which could have an impact on the way we could answer this demand and this specific demand coming from customers, which is such important point today. We have virtual models also that we see real applications that's more and more used, and it will be in the future with the development of metaverse a real issue for all the brands, because all will be virtual and we have a virtual world. So we need to develop these virtual models. We have also the automation of quality assurance in general, because we have an issue of quality much more in fashion design than any other industry. So how to master, how to control, how to automate this quality assurance issue to make it much more reliable and much more efficient. We have all the virtual search and recommendation algorithm, because we are moving for e-commerce, for m-commerce, and we need to have much more better recommendation algorithm with also an objective of better customer experience, but at the same time to keep the balance between all the business issue and the ethical issue. The idea is not only to push algorithm to make people towards this business issue, but also to keep this balance and to think about the ethical dimension. We have also mining social media also to forecast trends, because today we are using a lot the social media to capture the trends and try to anticipate these trends in order to prepare an offer which follow the evolution, which is much more faster today of the trends, etc., etc. So there is a lot of use, like, and you have here some examples.
Great, thank you for those very valid points. And we take a last question because we just have 1 minute. So it's about climate change and the ever polluting fashion industry. The question is how AI can help to create a more sustainable production method for creating clothes which are sustainable and durable for the environment. I don't know who can answer this, maybe Hema or Jignesh, because I know Leela is shaking her head. No, saying no. So I think maybe Hema can answer, or Jignesh.
Sure. Jignesh, should you like to go first?
Okay, so I think several things. One is, obviously, like Hema pointed out earlier, that we can forecast demand much more accurately. With interconnected supply chains, you can also look at the optimization or distribution of resources very properly and all of that. I think those are standard things. I think there's a lot we can do with hyper personalization and hyper customization. For example, with things like 3D scanning, 3D printing, and 3D knitting, you can make shoes or sneakers that fit extremely well, and that last really long as well. And I think comfort and fit are a very big issue in the fashion industry, and we kind of need to address that. I think a bigger challenge or an interesting application of AI would be, in terms of sustainability or the environment, would be new materials, just like it's being used for the discovery of new proteins. New materials or combinations of materials that we haven't thought of would be very, very interesting. And then there are some kind of grand or really difficult challenges for AI, which are to do with human behavior. For example, can it help us get off fast fashion and change our habits towards slow fashion? And that would be an interesting thing for AI to do. So, yeah, Hema.
That's true.
Sure. I think now let me move away from, I like the questions. The first line in the question is AI is just a hype. See, AI has been around since 1950s. We are going to hit a century of this word very soon. It's not a 2022 terminology at all. We've had AI. It's just the computational capability of computers has become very good in this decade. Therefore, we are able to carry out practical AI problems. I think number one, it's for all of us to reflect. If we walk into a store and if we see a polyester top for 500 rupees and it's a very good looking top, and we see a hemp shirt for 5,000 rupees, what would we reach out for? Right? We need to answer this practically before making it a retailer or a brand's problem. The problem is with what we expect. Right? Now, if you're not ready to pay 5x or 3x or even 2x for your regular wear, and you are in the habit of shopping often, we as consumers are the first who need to change. Once we start changing, once our expectations from brands change, and we are okay to buy one hemp shirt and use it for 3-4 months instead of wanting to buy something every week, that's where the change begins. Right? Consumption, reduce your consumption first. Can you make do with just 5 pairs of clothes? Can you not buy a jacket if you already have one? And that's where you really address climate change at its root. Brands and retailers will always make what the customers want because they want to make, that's what they're in the business for. So I think, can we consume less? Can we live with refurbishing our own clothes? And, I think that's a question for all of us to honestly answer. What were our last 5 Amazon purchases? Just answer yourself.
Yes, Tawhid has something to add.
Yeah, something to add about data, because we are today thinking about big data and algorithm of AI, but I don't know if you know that the carbon footprint of an AI algorithm running on GPT-3, which is an AI created by Microsoft, is an equivalent to a round trip to the moon by car.
Ooh, okay.
So think also about data and the use of data. Actually, we are moving at Ivancity from big to smart data. The real challenge is how to select only the data which are smart for algorithms. And before engaging project of AI, thinking also about the carbon footprint. So there is all the issues, classic issue related to environment, but there is also all the new issues related to the use of technology.
I think that's a very valid point.
Excellent point.
Yes,
yeah.
And I think Srini, the two take-home messages is which we get from here is, one is charity begins at home. So I think instead of expecting technology to do everything for you and the fashion world to do everything for you, as Hema rightly said, you have to change your own practices. And that is something which comes with training, with experience, with what we each individual develops within ourselves. And the second thing is going smart. like as Tawheed rightly pointed out, that when you say data, just don't think because it's something to do with machine, it doesn't pollute and it doesn't require energy. So I think these are very, very valid points, and which is an eye opener for many of us actually. So I don't know, Srini, would you like to join the conclusion with Samrat, or how do we do this?
Well, Samrat will conclude probably, but then again, you also thank the speakers, the panelists, and I really thank them sincerely, because they made it so interesting and then brought in points from different areas. And one point that you all touched directly or indirectly, but Tawhid made it very obvious, was let's not forget human. The human is in the center, because we all spoke about artificial intelligence, machine, robo, etc. But Tawhid made it very clear, and then all of you said that in one way or the other, and that to me is the take-home message. Ultimately, it's the human that's so important. And thanks for pointing this out, despite this artificial intelligence and all this so-called high-tech world. Thank you very much, all of you. Samrat.
Ambika, you gave me a very difficult task to speak after Srini. To speak after Srini is nearly impossible. Like,
Oh, come on.
Great words of a great man. Well, amazing. Thank you so much. A very, very interesting session, and I'm very proud that we were able to host this on the Euraxis platform and bring to our audience, a very, very complex but a very close to your skin topic, right? As Hema said, it actually is a topic which is relevant to all of us in our everyday to-day life, but we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. When we go and shop, we don't know like who are the masterminds, who are the guys behind, and what are the implications and what are the challenges also they have to deal with ethics, the human aspect, sustainability, and many more things. So I'm really very honored to have been part of this session, and I would like to thank again all the panelists for your contribution and your insights and giving us your precious time. Thank you so much. And last but not least, a big thank you to Ambika and Srini. Without you, this would have not been possible today. So thank you guys, for helping us in making this session happening, and wish you all a very nice afternoon or lunchtime, wherever you are, in France or in India. And with that, I say goodbye and see you next time. Tawhid is back again. So Tawhid, I just put you back so we can make one picture for history. Our first session on this topic. So I'm very happy. Let me just do this quickly with a screenshot. Okay. So, okay, that's it. Thank you so much for staying on, and see you around.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And hope to see
Thank
you all
you
soon.
very much.
We have to really work together.
Yeah.
More so.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.